Hey skiers, it's Bob with SkiEssentials.com. Welcome to our 2026 ski test. I've got a Fischer Nightstick 104 for you today. This ski returns structurally unchanged from last year. We do get a new graphic for 2026, but it returns as a smeary and drifty twin tip. Really fun, playful and surfy in the tips and tails. And then we actually get some nice performance underfoot. They do a great job with the construction here of the Nightsticks, providing something a little bit different than what a lot of other ski manufacturers make. And for a lot of skiers that are kind of looking for a more playful Fischer, maybe that Ranger 102 didn't feel quite as playful. You want something a little bit driftier. This Nightstick 104 will certainly fit that bill, as well as continuing to provide some really fun on-trail performance. It's hard to kind of reach for a 104 with a lot of flex and feel like you're going to be engaged and captivated in a groomer standpoint. The Nightstick 104 actually does a really nice job at that. We are built with a full poplar wood core. As opposed to the narrower Nightstick series skis, this one has a thinner profile overall. The 97 is quite thick. The 90 is more park oriented, so there's some mass there. This one, it is heavy because it's wide and there is metal, but overall it's a thinner core profile. Underfoot, we do get a metal laminate, and that's kind of where this ski is a little bit interesting. And what makes it a little bit different there too is that it's under the core. So it's right above the snow, right above the base. That kind of gives a first point of contact in a carved turn from the snow to that metal. So you're getting a different type of feel as opposed to a metal laminate that's on top of the core, which does more for binding retention and then helps out with kind of making your boot feel a little bit smoother. But this actually smooths out the snow. So a little bit different way of thinking about it. And then that thinner core profile does lead to a more flexible nature. The 97 does not flex like that. So there is kind of a noticeable difference in terms of ski flex between the 97 and the 104. And not a whole lot of difference in weight. This is the 180. We're on the scale at 1,965 grams. 97 is pretty close by. Just uses a thicker wood core as opposed to that wider width and more flexible wood core. So yeah, there's some heft here. With that metal underfoot, it does feel like a sturdy and stable ski. But then the flex of the tips and tails and the associated rocker profile and taper shape, and it's a pretty fun ski. Nightsticks tend to have a little bit more central camber and a more central emphasis on that more middle mount point. They have a center mount and then a -2. The team recommended boot center is at -4 from there. And that's where I'd go, a little bit more directional style as opposed to freestyle. And that'll just kind of open up the ski from more of an all-mountain standpoint. But yeah, nice positive camber underfoot. When you squeeze the 97, it is much more difficult to collapse that camber than in this 104 here. And then decent rocker. I think the flex makes up for a lot of that, where you don't need as much rocker if you have more of a flexible shovel. And then taper shape, it's not terribly dramatic, brought down into the ski, but nothing crazy. I think they are kind of keeping some of that freestyle componentry involved here in the Nightstick 104. Tail is sharper at the very end here than the shovel, which is more flat and squared off, more spoony. This one is a little bit sharper, and what that does is it allows the tail to kind of sink back into softer snow, act kind of like a rudder for a boat, and create a real easy steering mentality. And then tail rockers, very similar to the tip, pretty symmetrical there. Not a ton, but enough, especially given the flex of the ski. Nice 19-meter turn radius in this one here, 139, 104, 129. And I think when you get up into that 19-meter and over range, you are allowing the ski to be thrown sideways with greater ease and kind of create a more drifty and playful mentality. And that's where this 104 again separates itself from the 97, which is a little bit more direct and likes to be up on edge. This thing works great at a variety of edge angles, specifically ones that are more flatter and more surfy than others. Yeah, I think there's a advanced and expert component here. I think an intermediate that's looking for kind of a first wider twin tip. They certainly won't be overpowered by the Nightstick 104, but it is wide, and you do have to take that into account. But I think for advanced and expert skiers that are looking for backcountry playfulness, resort fun, great tree skiing, nice soft snow, powder day performance, with kind of a freestyle mindset, will really gravitate towards this Fischer Nightstick 104. So that's it. Make sure to check this thing out here at SkiEssentials.com, and we will see you out there on the hill. Bye.